WWRR, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, WMMZ, Berwick, Bloomsburg, Hazleton, WYCK, Plains.
Powered by Mohegan Sun Poano.
The River, 105 and 103.5.
This is Music on the Menu on the River. Featuring Northeast PA's best artists.
Maybe, never mind. She can move me like a stereo, like a song on the radio. She's an angel in the morning, yeah, that's me.
And now, here's your host, Alan K. Stout.
So I got that going, which is nice.
All right, everybody. Happy Sunday night. Welcome to Music on the Menu on the River. Alan K. Stout with you as I always am. Sunday nights, 9 to 10 o'clock. Bringing you regional artists from northeastern Pennsylvania doing their own original music. Hanging out with D.C. Taylor. D.C., how are you, man?
Good. How you doing, Alan?
Good. You feeling all festive? You getting
Festive.
Christmassy?
Yes, here we go.
In the mood?
We're getting close.
Here we are, December 12th today. So
Yes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, we're getting close to the holiday, and I might as well tell everybody now that next Sunday we will be doing our Christmas special that we always do. And once again, it will be 2 hours long.
All right.
2 hours of northeastern Pennsylvania Christmas music next Sunday. But tonight we also have a special show, a special, if you will. On the phone with us, calling in, is rock journalist and author Maxim W. Furek, who you probably have seen in the local newspapers. There have been some articles, I believe, in the Times Leader and the Citizen's Voice, and NEPA Scene did a piece as well with Rich Howells. They have all written about the new book that Maxim has written called Somebody Else's Dream, Dakota, the Buoys, and Timothy. Recently published, recently did a book signing at Gallery of Sound, and we wanted to get Maxim here on the show with us to talk about it as well, of course, because we play Dakota and the Buoys on the show all the time. Maxim, welcome to Music on the Menu. Thanks for calling in today.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. I'm just really feel so great to be here. So thanks for the invite, and I really love your show. So a lot of energy.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. We have a great time doing it, and it's always a pleasure to put local artists on the radio. And as I often say, when we play something from the Buoys, particularly when we play Timothy, it's kind of like the granddaddy of them all. It's 50 years this year that the song came out, and when artists think about, particularly back in the 70s when rock and roll, was still relatively in its infancy. It wasn't even 15 years old yet. If you use 1956 or so as the barometer with the arrival of Elvis Presley and things like that. So bands, I think a lot of bands from northeastern Pennsylvania had always looked to the Buoys as, look, you can do it. You can come from, there's a band that came from here that had some national success. When did you become a fan of the group, Maxim? What's your backstory with becoming such a fan of this group that you wanted to write a book about them?
Yeah, well, I was struck by the Buoys back around 1971 when the song came out. I was a college student. I was going to a small Catholic school in Shawnee, Oklahoma, and I heard the song Timothy. And I forget how it resonated, but when I found out that the group was called the Buoys and they were from northeastern Pennsylvania, that sort of wowed me. I was just like ecstatic because finally northeastern Pennsylvania had their own homegrown rock heroes. Somebody who was in the top 20 in Billboard. So I was just amazed and wowed with that. And I was really enjoying being a student out there because, for one thing, I was only 35 miles from Oklahoma City, and it was so easy to see concerts with Janis Joplin and Steppenwolf and go down to Dallas to see Led Zeppelin. So I was living that rock and roll dream. And then years later, I had a tabloid newspaper called Timothy because Timothy at the time was the highest charting song from a regional rock act. So, it had a really big impact on me, and I just thought that it was really good for the psyche of northeastern Pennsylvania. So, I was always a big fan of not only the song Timothy and the Buoys, but the concept, what it represented, because I thought that this was significant.
You were you're a native of Berwick, but you said you were going to high school in Oklahoma?
No, I graduated from Berwick in '64, joined the Navy, and so I was in San Diego, San Francisco, Seattle, and Gulf of Tonkin. I went to radar school in here's a little factoid, went to radar school in Treasure Island, San Francisco in 1965. In May of 65, I was only 18 years old, I saw the Rolling Stones in concert, and they had something like 10 acts. They had the Byrds, Paul Revere and the Raiders, the Mojo Men, Gary Wagner and the Marauders, groups that you probably never ever heard of. But I was there right in front of the stage taking pictures of the Byrds. The Byrds had only formed in 1964. Mr. Tambourine Man, I think it took off in maybe April of 65, and I saw them in May. And then the Stones came on, and there must have been 2,000 kids that just rushed the stage. And so my pictures of the Stones were like tiny, but all the other bands I had. But, that was just wonderful because that whole San Francisco area just had rock acts. I saw the Byrds numerous times, and,
I'm sorry, where were you living in 71 when you heard Timothy?
Yeah, I was going, okay, so then I was going to college after the Navy. I was a Vietnam veteran, but after that I ended up going to a small Catholic school in Shawnee, Oklahoma. So that was 1971.
Okay, I thought you said it was a high school before. Okay, so you were in college, in 71, and that's when you. So it sounds to me, because you describe yourself as a rock journalist, that seed to become somebody that wanted to write and learn more about music came right away. You're seeing some of the greatest bands of all time in their infancy back in the 60s.
Absolutely. Free tickets to see Led Zeppelin in Dallas, Texas, with, Jimmy Page playing his guitar with a violin bow and everything. But, I think, Alan, maybe you and I are doing something, psychologists call it sublimation. I would much rather have been up on stage with a Stratocaster, playing guitar and screaming and all that. But I never did that. I never learned that. And so what we do is maybe second best. We sublimate. So I write about it, and I do it with all the passion and energy that maybe I would have if I was actually being up on stage. And you talk about it too, and you document it. And, so maybe we're, kindred spirits in that regard.
In some way, documenting what I saw in rock music, particularly for the 18 or so years that I did it for a living at the newspaper. I still got all those clips. I don't know if anybody will ever want to read them, but I kept them all in a little file down in my basement. It's nice to have and reference from time to time. What were the critics' thoughts of, speaking of rock? I never liked to use the word critic to describe I was a music writer. I was going to have a good time, and hopefully when I was reviewing a concert, I was going to have a good time and be able to tell people it was a great show. But what were the critics' thoughts of the Buoys? Like something like their dinner music album. Were they a well-received band at the time, or did they have a hard time? You see these stories all the time, like Led Zeppelin getting panned by Rolling Stone, and once in a while the original review of some band will show up that went on to become an iconic band and a beloved band. That, it was hard in the beginning.
Yeah. No, they had it tough. The critics didn't like dinner music. First of all, Scepter took the longest time to get that album out. If it would have been out along with Timothy and Give Up Your Guns, I think sales probably would have been a lot better. But they took their time, and a lot of the Buoys felt that Scepter was a bit inept, incompetent. But the critics didn't like it. They thought that Timothy was a ripoff of the song from the group from Sweden. I'm blocking, not Purple. It'll come to me. But anyway, they thought that they had ripped off that.
I know you weren't going to say ABBA, so I remain silent.
No, not Alvin. But they beat up on the boys for the way they looked. They looked like truant kids. You know, I mean, they didn't have that uptown professional rock star look because they were just kids. And again, Scepter Records didn't do a very good job in grooming them. The critics didn't like the album. They didn't sort of give the boys the opportunity to stretch out and try some psychedelic tunes or psychedelic-like tunes. They compared a lot of the other songs on Dinner Music with Timothy, and they couldn't compare. But there was one song called "Tomorrow." It was written by Rupert Holmes and sung by Fran Brzezina, which is a wonderful song, wonderful ballad. And I always thought that should have been the release after Timothy, Tomorrow, and then Give Up Your Guns. That would have been a great segue. But what was interesting, you mentioned the birth of rock and roll around 56, 57. But I look at music around 1967. And 1967 was just such a wonderful year as far as albums by the Beatles and Stones and Beach Boys and Doors and everybody. 1967, the rock music just exploded, and that creativity was just like everywhere. I mean, it's just the most wonderful year ever. And so the Buoys were not that far removed, in 1970 when they did Timothy and when they were recording dinner music. So I'm thinking that, they should have been allowed that creativity, that experimentation.
Right.
And the other thing, too, maybe in a sense I'm different than other fans or musicologists, but I've listened to dinner music over and over and over again. I listen to it just to enjoy it, and then I listen to it just to dissect it and analyze it. And I like it. I like what they did. And, these were a bunch of guys, and Rupert Holmes and C. Michael Wright, their engineer, in the studio experimenting and doing things, and they came up with dinner music, which is I think is a fine album. I enjoy it to this day, and but the critics didn't, and from Rolling Stone on, they panned it, and they just thought that it was pedestrian and didn't have a whole lot of good things to say about it.
Well, we're gonna talk a little bit more about all of this throughout the program, and we're gonna come back to that Rupert Holmes connection as well, and talk to Maxim about his new book, which was recently published, Somebody Else's Dream, Dakota, the Buoys, and Timothy. Here's one from the Buoys. This one's called Give Up Your Guns.
When I woke up this morning, I found myself alone. I turned to touch her hair, and she was gone. She was gone. And there beside my pillow were her tears from the night before. She said, give up your guns and face the law. I robbed a bank in Tampa, and I thought I had it made. But the hounds picked up my trail within the glades. So I ran, and I stumbled on this cabin, and she came to me once more. She said, give up your guns and face the law. Now I'm in this cabin where my own true love should be. Instead there lies a note she wrote to me, and it says, no, you can't live by the bullet, but you sure as death can die. My love, give up your guns or say goodbye. Shotgun at my door. Son, give up your guns
falling, and the times we'll lose our way. That makes us strong to go the distance and to face another day. It starts with courage and conviction, then your faith will light your way. So don't be afraid, it'll all work out for the better. I know that I have some doubts, don't we all from time to time? But better days are on the way. 'Cause there's a sense of hope, I can feel it in the air. Winds of change are bound to come. So I stand my ground, I'm in it for the long run. Even when I think I can't go on. For all the times that we have fallen, and the times we'll lose our way, that makes us strong to go the distance and to face another day. Starts with courage and conviction, then your faith will light your way. So don't be afraid, it'll all work out for the better. In these times of great uncertainty, we sometimes lose our way, and it's a long way home. But it's gonna be alright, it's gonna be okay. I read the news today, and help is on its way. For all the times that we have fallen, and the times we'll lose our way, that makes us strong to go the distance and to face another day. Starts with courage and conviction, then your faith will light your way. So don't be afraid, it'll all work out for the better. We're all on this journey, on this thing we call life, and we all have but one chance to make it turn out right. So I'll be thankful for my blessings and thank God that I'm alive. Gonna hug my kids and take a deep breath. Everything's gonna be alright. And the times we'll lose our way, that makes us strong to go the distance and to face another day. Starts with courage and conviction, then your faith will light your way. So don't be afraid, it'll all work out for the better.
Jerry Ludwig here on Music on the Menu with a song called All for the Better. And before that, the Buoys with Give Up Your Guns. On the phone with us is Maxim W. Furek. He is the author of the new book, Somebody Else's Dream, Dakota, the Buoys, and Timothy, which you can buy. Would be a great Christmas present for somebody who is a fan of their music. What did you learn, Maxim, the most in researching this book and writing this book about the creative relationship between Bill and Jerry? You know, that's something to hear in northeastern Pennsylvania. A lot of people have admired from afar, just, you know, how well they sang together and, you know, some of the things they were able to accomplish together in the record business. What did you learn the most about it that you didn't know before going in?
Yeah. Well, first of all, everybody knew that Bill Kelly had this soaring, angelic voice. I mean, he could just get up there, and it was just great, you know, and he always said that all of his producers wanted him to get up as high as he could. But Jerry Ludwig also was great with harmonies, and they did well together. And a lot of their songs, you know, Kelly would start it off, and then Ludwig would go and take over, and they would go and blend it and swirl and that. And then also with the guitar work, they did the same thing. You know, they would have double or triple guitars. So they just worked well together. You know, they were craftsmen as far as the you know, the songs that they wrote. They were quite prolific, and at SI Studios, Ludwig would go there with a suitcase, a briefcase, just filled with folders with little snippets of lyrics and everything, and that's how he would work. He would have one song he was working on, then he would have another one and another one. I mean, he never finished, and so they were pretty good together creatively. And when you take a look at, and what happened was they broke away from the Buoys because Ludwig and Kelly wanted to go and do their own thing. They thought that there was more money to be made than just doing covers of, you know, in the bars. And so they started, and they would go up to WVIA studios. They had some musicians from the Hazleton area, and they were recording their own songs, and they called the demo just Jerry Kelly. So it became the Jerry Kelly Band, produced by Hawk Walensky and Danny Serafin from Chicago. And the Jerry Kelly Band was just, I thought, just such a wonderful album. And then the second one, Dakota, was good, just as good or even better. And then Runaway was the masterpiece. So you could see the evolution, you know, in their writing and their vocals. But all of those albums were just, I thought that they were wonderful albums. And you know, and listening to them years later, I mean, I developed even more of an appreciation for their sound. But they were just good together, and you know, and they were great for the times, and had some great musicians working behind them and supporting them.
I was going to ask you, out of the three incarnations of the project, the Buoys, Jerry, you know, and the Jerry Kelly, and then Dakota, do you have a personal favorite period? I guess you may have just answered it with that 1984 record. Is that when you really felt they hit their stride?
Well, yeah, they did hit their stride, and certainly Runaway, you know, and MCA was their best record, and everybody sang that, especially people in Europe. But I like the Jerry Kelly Band because that showed their potential. And I had seen them when they came back from California. They were playing at the Hearthstone Pub in Dallas, and they were like the conquering heroes. I mean, it was just great to see them. And then they started to do the back-to-back thing where Kelly and Ludwig would go up against each other and, you know, do some of that. And Kelly would make these faces, and Ludwig would look sort of stoic. But I mean, they had a great stage act. They did some good covers. I mean, they were really good in concert. They were just a lot of energy, and we followed them. And I think we all just put our faith in them. We were hoping that, you know, they would climb that ladder and do better. And then, of course, the management, the company, Columbia, wanted them to change their name, change the name of Jerry Kelly to something else, and they suggested Dakota. So that was just something that was foisted on them. You know, they had no chance to offer anything else, and that was too bad. But that's part of showbiz, and you know, I think a lot of musicians and writers, you know, and entertainers artists can relate to that.
We're going to play another one from. Let's go right to that one. Let's play "Runaway" from Dakota. Check it out. Great song.
I can see that you're running faster, running from some kind of disaster in your heart. They say you're too young to know the feeling, but still your head is reeling from the pain. Where you gonna run to? Where you gonna hide?
direction I'll go. And the only regret is the time that it took me to know. 'Cause I've wasted so much in the chase of the prize that the value is starting to show. And it pales in the light, and I see that it's time now to go. Now I know nothing good can come of us, so I hold it all inside. Now I understand what's wrong. It's been going on too long. Even the good can break a heart. Even the strong can fall apart. Even the best can fail. It struggles with the heart. Even the strongest hope can die. Even your love can say goodbye. But only a fool will try to struggle with the heart. The risk of defacing the past, I look back and I see how it all came to be. How I almost drowned in the pity that deepens the sea. I can almost remember the cut of the smile. I can almost remember the name. But I'm trying so hard not to repeat the cause of the blame. I'm so tired of wishing for happiness. I'm so tired of hoping for love. Now I understand what's wrong. I've been on the run so long. Even the good can break a heart. Even the strong can fall apart. Even the best can fail. Struggles with the heart. Even the strongest hope can die. Even your love can say goodbye. But only a fool will try to struggle with the heart. Oh, live and learn. Do not apply when there's no heart left to break. And the only lesson learned is the mistake. Now I'm tired of guessing which road that I should take. So I'm gonna make the choice that I never thought I'd make. With the wave of my hand and a look to the sky, I decide which direction I'll go. 'Cause for too many years now I've asked myself why. But now I don't wanna know. Even the good can break a heart. Even the strong can fall apart. Even the best can fail. It struggles with the heart. Even the best can fail.
Dakota here on Music on the Menu with a song called Struggles with the Heart. Before that, Dakota with one of their best-known songs, Runaway. We're on the phone with Maxim W. Furek, who has written the new book, Somebody Else's Dream, Dakota, the Buoys, and Timothy. Now, one of the things that you had mentioned to Maxim before we got on the phone here, and I got to hear the backstory on this. Jill Biden, the First Lady of the United States, had a key role in the publication of your book. What's the Jill Biden connection to the Buoys book?
Yeah, well, not so much with the publication, but yeah, Jill's in there. So Jill Jacobs was from New Jersey, and she went to the University of Delaware in Newark. So back in Pennsylvania, Tom Fox, who became the manager for the Buoys. Tom was good friends with Tommy Williams, and Tommy he was a quarterback at the Lackawanna Trail High School football team. Tom Fox, who wore many hats, he was the assistant coach there, the football coach. So Tommy Williams got a scholarship to the University of Delaware. Bill Stevenson, who was going to Wyoming Seminary. Bill Stevenson also got a scholarship to University of Delaware. So they ended up there, and Jill Jacobs, who must have been a really attractive young woman at maybe 18 years old. She would go swimming at the pool, and she would ask Tom Fox to sort of be her bodyguard, so that these young college guys wouldn't be hitting on her and everything. So Tom did that. Jill eventually married Bill Stevenson. Now, she was married to him from 1970 to 1975. So she was, 19 years old to 24. So she was just a young woman. Bill Stevenson ran the Stone Balloon. And what he did was he bought this old tavern, and he brought in people like Bruce Springsteen and Hall & Oates. And he was pretty good with helping to promote the careers of the Buoys, Jerry Kelly, and Dakota. So Bill Stevens was there, and actually Bill helped out with the Dakota Queen Tour in 1980. He was their manager. So Bill played an important role in this, and Jill Biden was part of it, and Tom Fox was basically the Jill Jacobs bodyguard back during those days.
I wonder if you asked Jill, because Jill obviously comes up to northeastern Pennsylvania from time to time with her husband on business.
Yeah.
I wonder if I wonder if anybody ever asked her if she would remember the connection to northeastern Pennsylvania and the Buoys. That would be a fun thing to ask her if anybody ever got the opportunity. Another question I wanted to ask you was, you had mentioned that the Runaway album is considered a landmark AOR album-oriented rock album, a landmark AOR album.
Exactly.
That's something that I haven't heard before. What's your contention on that? What's your theory?
First of all, with AOR, album-oriented rock, that became sort of a big thing on college campuses. So pretty much what it was an album that was sort of even, sort of the songs were similar, but you had no breakout hits. Now, Runaway certainly had, Runaway was one of the stronger songs from that, but Runaway was big over in Europe. It was big over in Italy and France. In my book, I interviewed Frederick Slama. He was a French journalist who introduced Dakota to Europe, to France, through just hundreds and hundreds of articles that he wrote. So he's in my book. He later hooked up with Jerry Ludzik, and they did recordings together. But the Dakota's Runaway album seemed to just have more traction over in Europe than it did over here. I don't know what was happening here other than MCA wasn't giving them the promotion that they really should have. And certainly after the Queen concert, that would have been a wonderful time for them to have put money in different markets just to promote the sales of some of the Dakota albums.
Because when you think about the time frame of the record, 84, you're thinking of Foreigner, you're thinking of REO Speedwagon, you're thinking of Styx. They're right in that wheelhouse in many ways.
They are, and when you take a look at some of the people that they brought in from the coast, people from Toto and Chicago.
Toto, sure, Chicago.
Wonderful session people there. And then plus with the MCA record, the Humberto Gatica, who was the sound engineer for Michael Jackson and Kenny Rogers and just all these wonderful people. These were the best people in the music industry that were helping Dakota with their MCA album. So this really needed to go further, and we'll talk about that after next break, because I want to talk to you about what you describe as the Dakota curse. But let's get to another tune. Yep. This one's called Push.
It's a kind of a night when you know that you're dealing with a guy who ain't right in his heart, his head, or feeling. You never know just when a man will lose a grip on his soul. Step by step, out of sight, how's he climbing up the ladder? Is it wrong or you right? No, it really doesn't matter. You start to see the man who's backing you right into a road. When push comes to shove, there's no way to hide all the feelings you're thinking of. When
Dakota here on Music on the Menu with a song called Long Road Home. Before that, Push from the last release from the band. Just goes back a couple of years ago. We're going to take a quick break now. We'll be back in a flash, so stick around.
JB here. On behalf of myself and the entire staff at Hazleton Honda, we would like to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and a prosperous New Year. And if, while you're driving over the river or through the woods and your maintenance miter, check engine light, or even your low tire pressure light comes on, feel free to swing into our no appointment needed express lane for quick and convenient service. We will get you and your cousin Eddie back on the road in a twinkle of an eye. Our elves are here for you Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Saturdays from 8 till 4 with no appointment needed. Once again, the staff at Hazleton Honda wish you a very happy holiday season.
All right, we're back here on Music on the Menu, spending the whole hour with Maxim W. Furek talking about his book, Somebody Else's Dream, Dakota, the Buoys, and Timothy. We'll get back to Maxim. Let's play another tune. This one's called If It Takes All Night, Dakota.
Takes
Dakota here on Music on the Menu with a song called If It Takes All Night. We've been spending the whole hour playing their music from Jerry Ludzik and Bill Kelly and their projects over the years, talking to Maxim W. Furek about his new book about the band. Maxim, you talk in your book about the Dakota curse. Could you elaborate on that a little bit as to what that means in your mind?
Yeah, a lot of the rock journalists talked about that, but it seems that with Dakota and even Jerry Kelly, for every step they took forward, they took two back. So there was just something really strange that was going on. But over the years, like even with Jerry Kelly, the management didn't like that song. They thought that Jerry Kelly was too lightweight, so they wanted a name change. Kelly suggested the name Dallas, which has local roots, and Columbia said no, it's going to be Dakota. So that was one thing that was mandated. The other thing was the Queen tour. Management did nothing to help them get aboard the Queen tour, but it was Mike Stahl, the sound engineer, that was able to go and hook them up. So it was Kelly and Ludzik networking that got them that. But with the management, we talked about the Runaway album. There was lack of promotion from the promoter. There was lack of push monies, which is just common in the industry. Like if something looks like it's going to hit, you take out ads, you give money to stations, you do something to promote it, you have specials, and there was none of that.
None of that, yeah.
And then the other thing that was really the heartbreak was they were supposed to go on tour with Chicago. That would have been a great thing, Dakota in Chicago. But Danny Serafin had a falling out with the label, so Danny wasn't getting anything. But it reminded me quite a bit back in 1965 with the Glass Prism and Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Glass Prism was supposed to go and do a tour with Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and that fell apart, and there went the career. There went the career path of the Glass Prism. It was a similar thing between the two bands. So,
well, what's your take? I'm sorry, Max. What's your takeaway from it all, though? I mean, we look at the Buoys and Dakota as a successful band in northeastern PA because they had the top 20 hit, because they had a couple of record deals, because they toured with Queen. We look at the accomplishments and we celebrate that, and yet at the same time, they had a lot of the things that plague bands once they're signed by a label. Not, the single wasn't well promoted, no tour support. We're on tour with Queen, Madison Square Garden, opening 3 nights. Why aren't we on the radio more? All of that was there as well. What was your final? We got to wrap up here because we've been on for quite a while. But what's your final takeaway after spending so much time with this book? What is the
final
story of Dakota?
Is that northeastern Pennsylvania had just like a plethora of wonderful rock acts. A lot of these intertwined with the Buoys and Jerry Kelly and Dakota, and it's just amazing. And Alan, on your one show, you interviewed Bill Kelly, and Bill Kelly talked about on any given weekend you had to bring your A game because there were so many dances, in the area, and there were so many bands that were just ready. I mean, they were good and they were getting better. So the Buoys became a wonderful stage act and a high harmony act, because of that competition. So my book is more or less an encyclopedia of northeastern Pennsylvania rock and roll. It's sort of my own version of what the Northeastern Pennsylvania Rock and Roll Hall of Fame would have looked like. And I talk about not only the Buoys, but I talk about bands like Hybrid Ice, Ralph, Joe Nardone and the All-Stars, the Rhythm Aces, just a number of other groups that the Wazoos and Great Bear, other wonderful acts that came from out of northeastern Pennsylvania that intersected with the Buoys and Dakota.
Well,
and
I appreciate you putting all that time into it and researching it, and I appreciate you taking your time to join us tonight on the show. Where can people find the book? The usual places, Maxim, Amazon, places like that?
Absolutely, and also Joe Nardone still has copies at his 2 locations in Dixon City and Wilkes-Barre. So, check out Joe Nardone and just thank you, Northeastern Pennsylvania, for all of your love and support. It's just been phenomenal. I just can't believe the acceptance that we've had with the book. It's been just phenomenal, and
we congratulate you. We congratulate you on that, Max, and we really do, and we appreciate you being with us tonight on Music on the Menu. How about we end the show with that Timothy song? That sound good to you?
That sounds great.
All right, thanks, Max. All the best to you, and thanks again for checking in. Timothy from the Buoys. We'll catch you next week.